I got asked to join a band by my friend Jordan. Still a friend. He was at the Kingston show, and his reasoning was, "You're just crazy enough to be a front man," and so I kind of like dove head over heels into it, and we were like playing like not really my type of music, like Misfits songs. Like kind of more punk driven stuff, and then like they like stopped calling me and kicked me out of the band, but kind of like without telling me, because you're in high school and you don't really know how to do those things. So obviously I was hurt by that. I started picking up my brother Jay's guitar. I was probably 14 or 15. And I played the same song like hundreds of times until I thought that I was singing it good. I just thought like repetition until my voice sounds good to myself. Then I went to school, and my friend Richard Storms was kind of from a music family, and I asked him if he wanted to be in a band. And then my friend Shane, who had never played the drums before, we just were like, "Hey, you're the drummer," and started jamming. And the first time we ever jammed, we wrote a song that was pretty sweet for a 14-year-old called Rags. In the same old rags as yesterday, I'm feeling fine. You get obsessed. It took over my life. I stopped doing everything else. I was pretty heavy into boxing at that time, and that's when I coincidentally started losing every match that I fought in. And we would just bomb around the country towns, playing little kind of like market shows or whatnot, and battle of the bands. And the whole plan was for that band to move to Toronto together and kind of make a go of it. But life gets in the way, but not for me. I think it was my brother, mainly Jay, and my parents. My parents gave him a love for rock and roll, and then, when I was young, he would like read me like Led Zeppelin biographies for bedtime stories, because he's 7 years older than me. So, he would babysit and whatnot, and we were always kind of together. He always brought me around and stuff. I think he liked me, even though I was a crazy little kid. So just from like a very young age, I was just into rock and roll. My favorite band as a child was AC/DC. I used to buy their albums, and then once I got all of their albums, I started buying doubles of their albums, and it's just crazy.
Like you bought multiple of the same album? Why'd you do that?
Because I was a little psycho kid. I understand it the most. Like a lot of people that we tour with, they start out in punk bands and, or heavy metal bands or whatnot. And we grew up in a small town of 600 people, and we weren't really subjected to too much, I guess, of that counterculture kind of music. So I just always grew up loving the classics. And it kind of was a weird thing. It took me a long time to just kind of accept that about myself, that I love to listen to classic music. I love, like, a lot of my songs they come out kind of sounding classic because of that. And it just kind of is what it is. I love rock and roll. It's kind of, it happened. I think the songs are a little more thoughtful than they've ever been. I think you can probably chalk that up to spending a lot of time alone in a house in the woods for the last 2 years. You kind of have to pull things. There's not a lot of experiences happening and whatnot to write about. So instead of pulling things from around me so much, I had to kind of get deeper inside and kind of pull from there, I guess. It started, I guess, as a solo album that I started making. I was living in Hamilton, and COVID was happening, and I kind of like thought, that it was time to maybe take a step toward a new direction for myself. Obviously still play with the band, write with the band, but do something on my own. I started feeling like I was giving the band my second best songs and saving my best songs for myself. So that's no way to write and be successful with your friends. So we started pulling from this batch of, 15, 20 songs. There's been a few misfires. We tried to self-produce for a little while with them, and they weren't really coming out, I guess, the way that we envisioned. We went down to Nashville to meet a guy named Jakir King. Our manager kind of cold called him and sent him a couple of the tracks. When we got in the room, and he was just like, listen, I want to make strictly a rock and roll album that sounds like you guys do live, and I don't want to worry about hits. I don't want to worry about Grammys. I don't want to use a click track, all these things that we were not used to, especially like the not recording to click and trying to get mostly stuff live off the floor. It's coming together really nice, and it's also just reassuring that it's scary. It's a new experience, and I think that's a part of the process that's been missing in our lives for the past little while.